the name of the program is The Way to Go, and I invite you to join me as we explore places to go and things to do. We're going on a very, very interesting trip today that may shock you a little bit. It's bold, it's outrageous. We're going to be talking about an exhibit of Polish posters at the Katona Museum, one of my favorite spots. And we're going to get into some detail and show you some of these posters. I'm sure after you see this sampling, you're going to want to see it. My guests today are the trainer of docents at the Katona Museum for this exhibit, Becky Samburg. And another guest is Andrzej Krakowski, who is a producer of films, who worked and lived in Poland and is very, very knowledgeable about what was going on at the time. Becky, this is quite an exhibit, and how would you kind of sum up the impact of what this thing is all about?
The subtitle of the exhibit is Combat on Paper, and I think this is really what it is. It is confrontational. It makes you think. It makes you respond. You don't just walk by and say, my goodness, that's a beautiful landscape.
It sure isn't. The cover of the catalog, which we're now seeing, is done by one of the artists, actually.
This is done by one of the artists in our exhibit, Mr. Olbinski, who actually lives in the United States right now. And yes, he has many posters in our exhibit on a wide variety of themes. And as you look at these posters, you also begin to notice various themes, various trends. In Mr. Olbinski's, you often see clouds in the background. I know Andrzej must know what that means, but I don't, and Mr. Olbinski hasn't told us. But you begin to recognize certain artists and certain of their signatures.
Now, what's remarkable to me is that the posters in this exhibit were produced under the communist regime. How about censorship? I mean, they're so bold, and we look at them, we'll see how bold they are.
The Poles had their background is such that up until 1989, the previous 200 years, the Poles were really only free for a period of 20 years, between 1918 and 1939. Caught between Germany and Russia and whatever was going on, Poles could change their nationality without moving. Things would happen so rapidly. So as a repressed people and a censored society, they learned early on, the artists and the culturally, how to maneuver around the censors.
Andrzej, you certainly lived in Poland. You have a strong background in Poland. You go back there all the time. Today you're a film producer. You've worked in television. You've taught. What was it like in those days? It's kind of hard to believe that these dynamic, colorful, outrageous posters were produced under the communist regime.
Well, we see communism as such a evil empire, and until you live there, and we knew what was going on. And those who were the people who were tailing us knew that we know they're tailing us. So it was a game. I remember days when my father would walk out of the house, literally pound on the roof of the car that was tailing him around the city, and say, "Hey guys, I'm going to my brother for dinner." And we understood each other. Part of our education at film school, Andrzej Wajda told us, for example, remember in every movie to have a long shot with a garbage can, and on a garbage can it should say down with and forget the rest. Because then the censorship is going to pay so much attention to this stupid garbage can, they'll miss the whole message.
Well, talking about missing the message, now these posters in the exhibit, and we're going to show one now that people will recognize, they were advertising posters. Now this is what? This poster?
This is a movie, a poster for the movie Cabaret. Now, what is interesting is that the films in Poland did not have to be sold in the same market sense that they had to be sold in this country. And very often the poster artist, who was a trained architect, engineer, not just a graphic artist as might be in other cultures, really would interpret the movie for his audience. And if I remember correctly, in the Cabaret, the American posters, you had Liza Minnelli and Joel Grey singing. I think you had him standing on a bandstand with his hat tilting off. This is a very different Cabaret. This is a reference to the Nazis with the swastika. Joel Grey, it looks to me, is almost screaming
Yes.
rather than singing. And the red color, red and white, are the Polish national colors, Polish flag. So you see that often in these posters. And I think he's telling people what this movie may be about.
We can identify with this one, and that's why I chose to start with it, because we know the film. We've seen so many advertisements and posters, and yet this is an interpretation that is quite different. Some of the others are on subjects that we're not familiar with. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Because what do they cover? What is the gamut of the posters themselves?
In the exhibit?
In the exhibit.
We have posters on film, on theater, on graphic arts, on Polish-Jewish themes, on solidarity, on social issues,
on
music, opera, ballet, thank you. Many, many categories.
They're more than advertising. They're art. And they're so different from each other. Now, let's talk about another poster. Now we got something that's a little different, don't we?
Yeah. This is by someone named Pongowski. Did I say that?
Correct.
Fairly good? Okay.
Very well.
One of the younger Polish poster artists. And I might also mention that a lot of the artists, the Polish poster artists during this period, they became almost like sports heroes
What's
in
the
this
period,
country.
Becky?
1960 to 1990. Give or take.
If I can cut you for a
Please.
second, for perspective, you should understand that American art in any form, whether it's music, American movies, didn't come to Poland until 1957.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about 3 years that this exhibit doesn't cover. But for us, all those posters, there will be a different inflection and different message. With a poster made about American film, and that's about Russia.
Oh, sure, I understand that. Let's talk about this poster again now, specifically.
Okay, now, as I understand this movie, and Andrzej can correct me if I'm wrong, Glory to Heroes, this is a movie that is kind of satirical, ironic. It sort of glorifies war. The young hero goes off and he's brave, and this is my understanding of what the movie's about.
I haven't seen the movie,
okay.
but the director is a childhood friend of mine. And knowing his satiric bent, I wouldn't be surprised. All his films are very ironic, very caustic.
This one is. Yeah, go
and
ahead.
The poster, the whole irony and the terrificness of the poster is there's nothing glorious or heroic or wonderful about this. You have two people who've lost their eyes, they've lost their ears, they're bandaged up, and yet they're trying to make human contact in the only way possible.
Well, but if you look at the shape of it, yet it's still the man looks like a knight.
Yeah.
In an armor.
That's true too. He looks.
But this is somber. The colors are not bright in this case, and some of them have very bright colors, and some of them do not. Now there is a museum, isn't there? A Polish poster museum?
Yes, I believe in 1968 in a suburb of Warsaw. A Polish poster museum was set up, and there are international competitions sponsored by the museum.
As I walked through this exhibit, which I did a few days ago, I was overwhelmed. I have to say that at some points I was kind of repulsed by some of the things. They were so strong. Now, you're the docent trainer. You had to set up the planning for the docents every day at 2:30. Is that when the docent?
Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday primarily, and Friday and Sunday. We do have tours at 2:30, led by trained docents.
And what's involved? How do you get prepared for something like this?
Well, my area of interest is history and literature. So I did a lot of research on the history of Poland, the history of solidarity, the history of communism, what went on, and we went. Our curator, Frank Fox, who is a retired professor of European history at Westchester College in Pennsylvania, helped us with some interpretation of the posters. And we went through with the docents every poster, talking about them and trying to get a historical reference for them and giving them the information. And then each docent puts together his or her tour. the other docent trainer and I listen to the tours to make sure that they're giving factual information. But basically, we don't tell them they have to talk about this and they have to talk about that.
It's individual based
Exactly. There are 90 posters in the exhibit. You can't talk about 90, and not everyone's favorite is the same. So people have the freedom to choose whichever ones they want to speak about.
Let's talk about another specific now.
Okay. This was a theatrical production, and we were mystified as, again, this getting through the censors with the label police. And Andrzej, again, can correct me on this. The information we have is that police was not the name for the secret
Correct.
police in Poland. It was militia.
It was militia, yes.
Militia, and that this would refer to an earlier time period. So maybe that was something the censors would be a little less threatened by. That was one interpretation, but that this does not refer.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the police or policja would indicate that this is a Western state, that it's not Poland. Now, Mrożek, who was probably the most famous Polish playwright of 50s, didn't live in Poland. He left. He was living in Paris. And censorship always had a big problem with him because they couldn't figure out what society he's actually referring to. So a lot of his plays were allowed in Poland and then taken down because suddenly somebody woke up in the middle of the performance and, oh my God, they're talking about us. Forget that.
About taking down, some of the posters were put up and then torn down by...
They were torn down either by censors who suddenly realized, hey, what did we let go here? Or by collectors. People would say, oh, this looks really great, and they'd rip it down and then collect them. And some of the artists, we've spoken with a couple of the artists, and there was one particular one in the show that was ripped down right away, and the artist who did it, Jan Savka, he was very happy when it was torn down by the censors. I mean, that was sort of like, that's good, I got them.
See, there was, I remember an incident, there were on the main square in Warsaw, there was a huge poster that because September was traditionally the month of Polish-Russian friendship. And somebody came up with a very bold poster, and one night, somebody came with a paint and added, when it says September, a month of Polish-Russian friendship, somebody says, all right, but not a day longer. Underneath. The poster was gone.
Now, it's always interesting when we see something that's familiar. We have another poster that we're showing that speaks for itself, and it's very eloquent in its simplicity. Let's talk about John Lennon.
Okay, this is, again, another one by Pongowski, the young man who is so popular in Poland. What is interesting about this, and we have several others, we have Duke Ellington, Ray Charles, Jimi Hendrix, is jazz and rock and roll were considered a subversive type of movement. It almost was an underground thing. And you can imagine the creativity, the free form, the atonality, the unstructured. This is not something that would endear itself to communist government. So this became something that the youth would be very interested in and very much involved with. They could listen. The Beatles, as we understand, came a little bit to Poland a little bit after the Western world, but they could tune in through Radio Luxembourg and elsewhere and hear the music. And these were heroes to the Polish youth, just as they were to other youth, and it was even more because it was really in defiance. In our country, it was go against your parents. This was really go against.
That's the word I keep hearing here is defiance. Yeah. Defiance.
Oh, we were so hungry of Western, of contact. And I remember when my father came from abroad, and at that time he was a minister of tourism, and brought several American records, and I immediately smuggled those records out of the house to school, not knowing that in fact all the songs are sung in Yiddish. And I was called immediately on carpet because everybody in my school thought that my Yiddish mama is actually in English.
I do want to remind our viewers that we're talking about a wonderful exhibit on Polish posters that is now at the Katona Museum and will be running through July 21st. And my guests today are two people who are very, very knowledgeable about these posters. Becky Samburg, who is docent trainer, and Andrzej Krakowski, who has been the host of the 3 films that were shown during the course of the exhibit in May. I really want to get into more specifics because these specifics are just great. Now, this one is not an entertainment, but it
gets the message, though.
Okay, it certainly gets the message.
This is the kind of thing I wish we would put up in high schools in our country with teenagers, and really let them get the message in a very forceful way. I mean, you've got that universal teenage uniform. There's no question who this is aimed at. One of our young people said, "Oh, this is butts for the buttheads," and I just think if we could get youth to see this, it might cause them to think a little bit.
It's actually a very good translation.
Well, we were told what it really means, but I'm not going to say it. We call it butts for the butthead.
It's very effective. It sure is effective. Now, where were these produced? Were these all being produced in artist studios? Did the artists make a living doing this? Was there enough volume for them to do that?
Yes. I mean, intellectuals, by the artists in Poland led very privileged life. And this is the rude awakening, as a matter of fact, right now, when the system has changed and they have to compete. There was no competition in Poland.
Yes.
And the educational process was very much in tune with employment market. There was one film school in my class. The one that the name you definitely know is Kieślowski. There were 9 of us. A couple of years later, they figured out they have enough film directors, they closed the department. And there was no film school in Saturn for a couple of years.
It's actually kind of ironic. We have a poster which is a very graphic one commemorating the 40th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And I think it's by Sulecki. Am I going to say that right, Thomas? S-U-C-E, Sulecki. Sulecki. And there was a comment that he made that since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the capitalist economy is that, and he's got a job in a graphics manufacturing, and it's like he said he doesn't even sign his art anymore. He doesn't really consider it art because now he's just working. He's just working at a job. And capitalism, in some ways, as Andrzej said, has been very difficult for the artists because there's no support under them.
Yes.
And a lot of the movies that come in now, they can get American posters, they can get things from abroad. So it's in a sense, it's been very hard.
You mentioned the Jewish theme. There's a whole section of posters with the Jewish theme, and we have one of them here now to show.
Yeah, the Polish-Jewish relations are something that has been a very difficult part of Polish history. And as our curator said, this issue may not be resolved in our lifetimes. It's just something that we all know about. We know the facts, but emotionally, I don't know. We don't know when it's going to be resolved.
What about this poster?
This poster, we've had a lot of interpretations of it. Andrzej, what do you think?
I would really have to think about it. It's like closing your eyes.
Is he closing? It's the Star of David, and it looks like metal, like it's a form of metal. And there's the finger. And the finger, there are a lot of motifs that recur in these posters. The eye, the bird, and there are a lot of pointing fingers, which we haven't figured out the significance of. Eyes and birds, we can sort of...
No, remember the Sistine Chapel creation of life? When God touches the...
Okay.
It's interesting.
Okay.
It's interesting when you talk about interpretation. You can stand and look at these and make your own interpretations, as the two of you are now doing right here about this particular poster. The interpretation is what you bring to it, and you don't necessarily know what the artist was saying.
Right, and in some cases we've asked the artists, and they won't tell us.
Yes, that's a point. Now, several of the artists now live in the United States.
Olbinski, who is a good friend of Andrzej's, lives in Queens, I believe.
Correct.
Teaches at the Visual Arts School and was at our opening and has some absolutely wonderful posters in our exhibit. He designed our catalog cover, which again one can interpret in many different.
He has won actually. He has won the New York competition for the posters of New York. The New York lifted by the balloon is Olbinski. So
many posters from New York City Ballet, the opera. Again, these artists are steeped in their knowledge. When they write about an opera or a musical or a theater, they've read the libretto, they know the music. It's not just tossing it off. They know what they're writing about.
Just one more that I'd like to talk about. Here's another poster that is kind of powerful for me. You know, I've seen some words: satire, horror, bold, brutal. They are powerful. What's this one?
Well, I'll give my interpretation, then Andrzej can give the real one. This is, again, it's a film this one is by Andrzej Wajda, and it's called Man of Iron, I believe, and we've got the cement vice coming very forcefully around the worker's head, the man's head, but we see the vice cracking. Does this mean that thoughts can get out?
Well,
what is
I see an iron screw breaking down.
It's breaking out, though?
Yes.
Breaking down.
Why?
Yes.
It's collapsing. I mean,
Why? The thought process or freedom, or what's breaking it?
Well, I have I guess a disadvantage of knowing the movie. The Man of Iron was the second, basically it was a sequel to Man of Marble.
We have that, but that's in our show.
And Man of Marble was actually the last film greenlighted by my father before he left Poland, and I know exactly, I mean, but the whole concept here is that you can stop the thought, you know, and sooner or later, it has to come out. It has to.
And that's what's so remarkable, is that they were able to do these under the oppressive state.
Yeah, but you see, we had a different. I mean, we're looking at the same thing, right? And you're seeing here a marble, or what kind of a vice was it? Cement vice. You know, I see this as an iron screw. Symbolically, they are totally two different things. And
the censors did not see it as something negative, and therefore allowed it to be produced?
They says at the time when Men of Iron came out, I think the censorship didn't know which way to go, and it's almost like the last year in the 80s. You know, they were more busy preparing their next job. Mm-hmm. You know, they knew that the system was collapsing, so you would see, you know, a resurgence of a lot of.
Communism, it's interesting. Communism in Poland was never good, but it was, in some respects, it was different than other parts of Eastern Europe. I mean, Stalin even said that trying to communize and collectivize the Poles is like trying to saddle a cow. Things didn't work as well in Poland as they worked in the other countries, because there was much more resistance. The church was strong in giving support. And what is kind of interesting on the other side of that is now, just last week, there was an article in the New York Times how, in the business section, how Poland is making the fastest economic recovery of all the, Eastern European former Soviet countries. So it's kind of interesting that they kind of went their own way in a way. It was different than the communism. I'm not saying it's good and it was repressive and horrible, but it was different, I think. Is that?
But ironically, what works for Poles in Poland doesn't work for the Poles abroad. I mean, if you look at the cinema of 1970s, suddenly a lot of Czechs, Miloš Forman, Janos Kadar, Ondrijček, they went out, but they came as a group. So there's something in Polish nature that each Pole is the biggest Pole and the best Pole, and it works wonderfully in Poland, because the government is not going to tell me what I can do. You tell me I cannot grow tomatoes, you know. But then they come out here, and it doesn't work that way. You know, they don't realize.
You're talking about the biggest, the best. We've shown a half a dozen or so of the. How many posters did you say? 90 posters in there. It's the impact of seeing this exhibit. We're only touching on it. The impact of seeing the exhibit. Every one of them is powerful in its own way. Some of them are, the catalog has illustration, a wonderful catalog, has illustrations of some which are really brutal, and some which are sexual, and some which are frightening. Someone that I was with first came in, and the reaction was, I'm not staying here.
It's not a pretty show.
But but it grows on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It grows on you. I want to be able, Becky, to tell people where they can get more information about this exhibit and what the hours are if they want to go and how to get there if people don't know. What is the telephone number?
Telephone number is 232-9555. The museum is open Tuesday through Friday and Sunday from 1 to 5 and Saturday from 10 to 5 with tours at 2:30. And we charge no admission.
Yes, and you have a wonderful gift shop.
Right, wonderful gift shop where the posters are on sale.
That I have spent some of my good money there. And the catalog itself, which I think is really great because it has full-page reproductions of the posters, and I think that is very, very effective in doing that. How do you react? I mean, you go back to Poland many times. You grew up there. Your father was active in the government. How do you react when you see these posters? Here, it's part of your life, really.
Oh, this is absolutely part of my life, and I have quite a few posters, sort of like cherished mementos at home. But for me, it's going to be probably different than for you. For me, it was always posters in Poland were a way of communicating, of saying what others couldn't. And it was, and probably that was the big shock in coming to America when you open the newspaper, and it says that 19 people died, and you say, 19 people, there's probably about 50, but they're not saying. And then we find it was exactly 19.
Well, what we are saying is that we've run out of time, and I thank you both for coming here. This has been a rewarding, colorful, visual program, and I really enjoyed it. We have talked about the Polish poster exhibit now at the Katona Museum. An exciting, dramatic, excellent exhibit. Go see it. You'll enjoy it. I'm Norman Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. And until next time, enjoy yourself.